The last train to Blackwater is not a train. It is a trap. Rain hammered against the station roof like impatient fingers, and Arif pulled his jacket tighter. The old clock above platform 3 read 11:47 p.m., though Arif's phone insisted it was only 10:12. That should have been his first warning, but he dismissed it as a broken clock. The station was nearly empty, with only one flickering tube light buzzing above the benches. Long pale shadows stretched across the wet floor as Arif checked the train board again. The announcement speakers crackled occasionally, but no words ever came through, only static. Arif frowned as he read the board. Blackwater, arriving soon, a name he had never heard before. He had travelled this route many times to visit his grandmother in Ravenhill, but Blackwater was unfamiliar. An old man sweeping the platform noticed him staring and whispered without looking up. "You shouldn't board that train," the sweeper said, his voice barely audible over the rain. Arif laughed nervously and asked why, but the sweeper stopped moving. "Because nobody returns from Blackwater," the sweeper replied, then the station lights suddenly died. Darkness swallowed everything for 3 long seconds, with only the sound of rain. Then a distant train horn screamed through the night, and the lights flickered back on. A black train rolled slowly into the station without a sound from its wheels. No sparks, no engine noise, just silence, and every window was fogged from the inside. The doors slid open, but no passengers stepped out, and the sweeper had vanished. Arif looked around the empty station, his phone now showing no signal. The next normal train wasn't until morning, and he desperately needed to reach Ravenhill before dawn for his grandmother's surgery. Against his better judgment, he stepped aboard the black train, and the doors shut immediately behind him. Inside, the train smelled damp, like wet soil after a graveyard rain, and the carriage lights glowed dim yellow. Rows of passengers sat perfectly still, some wearing old-fashioned clothes from decades ago. A woman in black held a baby wrapped in cloth, a soldier stared at the floor, and a little boy pressed his forehead against the glass. None of them moved, none of them blinked, and Arif swallowed hard before sitting near the exit. The train lurched forward, and at first only rain streaked across the windows. Then the outside changed, the city disappeared, replaced by endless forest beneath a dead grey sky. Arif stood up instantly, realizing this wasn't possible. The train couldn't have travelled that far in seconds. He moved to another window, but saw the same endless forest, and his panic grew. Suddenly, the little boy across from him spoke without turning around, his voice hollow. "You shouldn't look outside after midnight," the boy whispered, and Arif froze. Arif asked why, and the boy slowly turned his head, revealing completely black eyes. "Because sometimes," the boy whispered, "something looks back," and the carriage lights flickered violently. Every passenger slowly lifted their heads toward Arif at the exact same moment, their faces wrong. Their skin stretched too tightly, smiles too wide, eyes hollow and dark, and then all at once they smiled. Arif stumbled backward, his heart pounding against his ribs as the passengers' smiles widened impossibly. The woman beside him tightened her grip on his wrist, her cold fingers digging into his skin like ice. "They only need your name," she whispered again, her voice trembling as the faceless conductor stepped closer. Arif tried to pull away, but the woman's grip was unbreakable, her eyes wide with desperation. The faceless conductor stopped in front of Arif, tilting his head as if listening to something only he could hear. "Your name," the conductor repeated, his voice echoing from everywhere at once, making the windows vibrate. Arif opened his mouth to answer, but the woman suddenly screamed and lunged at the conductor, her baby tumbling from her arms. The baby hit the floor with a soft thud, but it never moved or cried. It was just cloth wrapped around nothing. Arif scrambled backward, his hand finding the emergency lever near the door, its red paint chipped and rusted. He yanked the lever down with all his strength, and the train let out a deafening human shriek that shook his bones. The passengers howled in unison, their mouths opening too wide, their voices merging into a single agonized wail. A door burst open beside Arif, and wind roared in, pulling at his clothes and hair with violent force. The faceless conductor grew taller, his neck stretching like a snake, his voice coming from the walls. "You gave us your face," the conductor boomed, and Arif felt his own skin crawl as if something was trying to peel it off. Arif jumped through the open door, his body tumbling through freezing air and darkness that had no end. He hit the ground hard, pain exploding through his shoulder, and everything went black for a long moment. Arif woke to someone shaking him gently, and he blinked up at a man in an orange vest with a worried face. "Hey, are you alright?" the railway worker asked, his voice kind but urgent, rain still dripping from his hat. Arif tried to answer, but his voice came out as a croak, and he realized he couldn't remember his own name. "What's your name?" the worker pressed, and Arif's mind was a blank wall with nothing written on it. Arif looked down at a puddle beside the tracks and saw his reflection smiling back at him, but he wasn't smiling. He touched his own face, but the reflection didn't move with him. It just kept grinning, eyes locked on him. The worker helped him stand, and Arif noticed his hands looked older, more wrinkled, with faint age spots. On his wrist, a dark mark in the shape of a handprint was burned into his skin, cold to the touch. The worker led him along a muddy path toward a small town in the distance, smoke rising from chimneys. Arif caught his reflection in a window of a passing car, still smiling, still watching, never blinking. He looked away, but the image burned into his mind, and he knew that smile would haunt him forever. They reached a station sign that read Ravenhill, and Arif felt a flicker of recognition he couldn't place. The worker said, "You're safe now," but Arif knew deep down that safety was a lie he couldn't afford. A distant train horn echoed through the hills, long and low, and Arif's blood turned to ice. He knew that sound, the same horn that had called him onto the black train, the same promise of doom. Somewhere out there, the thing wearing his face was still riding the rails, heading toward another station. And it needed no ticket. It had stolen everything Arif was, and it would do the same to others. Arif walked into Ravenhill, but the smile in every reflection never left, and the last train was still coming.